Okay, now let's put everything together, our order of operations with rational numbers. So remember, when we have more than one operation to do, we've got to do it in a certain order. So PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And remember, my dear and Aunt Sally go together. Okay, so nothing new here. We're just going to put everything together. How about, let's look at this problem. 1/5 minus 6 times 7/10. Now, one thing I think that's helpful, if any of your numbers are fractions, I really want them all to be fractions, right? I don't care if I'm adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. I need to see those numerators and denominators. So when I see a problem like this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this 6 into an improper fraction by putting it over 1. 6 over 1 is the same thing as 6, right? Okay, so what I notice is, oh, I've got more than one kind of operation. I've got some multiplying and I've got some subtraction. That means I've got to follow a certain order, my order up here. Okay, so first of all, parentheses. And yes, there's parentheses right here, but there's nothing inside the parentheses to do. If I could reduce this fraction, or it was a division I could actually perform, I would do it, but nothing to do. It's just holding a number. Exponents. There's not any exponents. So next, multiplication and division, whatever comes first, and what comes first is a multiplication. Okay, so everything except for the step I'm working on stays exactly the same. Now, multiplying fractions, meaning don't forget to simplify first. 6 and 10 are both divisible by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And once you've reduced everything, when you multiply straight across. 3 times 7 and 1 times 5. Okay, now it's adding and subtracting. Hey, common denominator. If they got a common denominator, I'm good. That's just the denominator in my answer. And I add or subtract the numerators. They've got different signs. This is a plus and this is a minus in front of this number. So different signs means minus. 21 minus 1 is 20. Keep the sign in front of the biggest number. Okay, and now this fraction will reduce. Remember, this is 20 divided by 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4. All right, let's try another one. 8/3 times 1/4 minus 1/2 all squared. Okay, parentheses first. This time I've got stuff inside the parentheses I can do. So I've got to work inside these parentheses. Inside the parentheses, we're adding, subtracting, same thing, right? Multiplying, dividing, same. We're adding and subtracting fractions. To add or subtract fractions, you need a common denominator. So I'm going to look at the biggest. Is it the biggest? Yay, it is, because 2 goes evenly into 4. That means I need to make both of those denominators a 4. Okay, now, because I didn't change this denominator, I didn't change this numerator. To make this number into a 4, I'm going to multiply by 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, same thing to the top. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, I'm still working inside those parentheses, but now they have a common denominator, so I know my fraction in my answer is going to have a 4 for a denominator, and I just have to do 1 minus 2. Signs are different, means minus, so 2 minus 1 is 1. Keep the sign in front of the biggest number. Okay, so now when I look inside the parentheses, it's just holding a number. There's no math to do. Exponents, hey, I have an exponent, so I'm going to do the exponents. Now remember, If the exponent is sitting on parentheses, it goes to everything inside the parentheses. So it means I've got a negative times a negative. I've got two negatives. So my answer is going to be a positive. A 1 times 1, a 4 times 4. Right? Think about what that is. That's if it's 1/4 squared, it's 1/4 times 1/4. 1 times 1, 4 times 4. So if I have an exponent sitting on parentheses of a number, look at the difference here. I've got to adding and subtracting. No, I've got to do inside the parentheses first. But once there's only one value inside the parenthesis that has an exponent sitting on the parenthesis, I can just put that exponent on everything in the parenthesis. Negative, negative is a positive. 1 times 1, 1. 4 times 4, 16. Okay, no more exponent, so now multiply and divide. And here's the multiply and divide. Right? And I notice that, 8 divided by 8 is 1. 16 divided by 8 is 2. Nothing else will simplify. So I multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 2 is 6. And because this won't simplify any further, I'm finished. Okay, let's just make note of one more thing. What if we had a problem like this? A big giant fraction. All right. Well, what I want to remember that fraction bars is just another way to write a division symbol. And it's also a grouping symbol. It means everything in the numerator has to stay together. So it's like there's invisible parentheses around the numerator and the denominator. So in reality, if I have a big, nasty looking problem like this, even though it looks awful, it turns out to be one of the simpler ones because I do the numerator and the denominator individually, because it's like there's invisible parentheses. All of this is the numerator. It's got to be grouped and stay in the numerator. All of this is the denominator. It's got to be grouped together and stay in the denominator. So I'm just going to work numerator and then denominator. All right, don't forget PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So just looking inside this set of parentheses first, I'm looking for other parentheses. Oh, that's parentheses, but it's just holding a negative number, just holding a negative number. Exponents. No exponents up here. Multiplication and division, whichever comes first. So I'm going across here looking for any multiplication or division, and I come to a division first. Okay, so that means everything but that one step I'm doing stays the same. Now, I've got 18 divided by negative 3. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. Signs are different. It means minus. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Okay, so all of this is negative 6. The rest of everything stays the same. Okay, I'm still working on multiplication and division. I did one multiplication and division, but here's another one. So my next step is to do this multiplication. So this is a negative and a negative. Signs are the same. It means plus. 6 times 6 is 36. I'm just leaving the bottom the same for right now. Okay, so on the top, I just have one step left. It's at adding two numbers with different signs. That really means minus. So 36 minus 9 is 27. And keep the number in front of the biggest, keep the sign in front of the biggest number. Okay, so I got my number on the top. Now I'm just going to go down and work inside the parentheses on the bottom, the denominator. So I start over with parentheses, but these parentheses are just holding a number. Exponent, there's no exponent. Multiplication and division, whatever comes first. This time there's a multiplication that comes first. So I have 32, negative 4 times 12. One sign means negative. Okay, I'm still working on the multiplication and division because I'm not finished. I'm just doing them in the order that they come. So the 27 I'm done with, but on the bottom I now have negative 48 divided by 3. 48 divided by 3 is 16. Okay, I'm still working on multiplication and division. So now I have 16 times 2. One of them's negative, means the whole thing is negative. And now all that's left to do is add or subtract. 32 minus 32 is 0. Uh-oh, if there's a number on top and a 0 on bottom, no, that's the one we cannot do, and we call that undefined. Cannot have a 0 in a denominator. You cannot divide by 0. Okay, so practice those. Let me know if you need any help.